Welcome to the Mojo for Musicians podcast from Manny Media, where we dig deep into today's top strategies to help you take your music career to the next level, along with real, raw, and uplifting conversations with industry professionals that are making moves, making a difference, and making the best versions of themselves to inspire you to do the same. And for all of our Mojo Maniacs out there, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss any future episodes. And if you like what you hear, please be sure to give us a positive review on your favorite listening platform. Support for the Mojo for Musicians podcast comes from Stedman, tools for the studio and beyond, because your voice deserves to be heard. Sennheiser, inspired by music. And Cranium, scientifically designed products for bald, shaved, and buzzed heads. So get your head in the game and own your dome. And now, here's your host, Manny Cabo. All right, welcome back, Mojo Maniacs, to another rockin' episode. And I mean that literally, of Mojo for Musicians, a source of inspiration for my beautiful artists around the globe. And as always, I want to thank my sponsors, and above all, you guys, my loyal listeners, old and new, for rating, reviewing, and sharing the podcast. So I'm able to get incredible guests like the one we have today. Now, as a rocker myself, I may be a little biased, but I absolutely love these guys. Their vibe, their fashion sense, their sound. It's got like this great hard rock edge that I could certainly vibe with, and reminiscent of bands we were just discussing, behind the mic, Seven Dust and Hailstorm in this moment, fronted by some incredible vocals, as we all know, as well as some of the top female belters in the industry. And today's guest, right, definitely holds her own, believe me. So the band was formed roughly about 2010 in the City of Angels. So already I'm loving the level of commitment because, man, 13 years in this industry and still going strong and continuously reinventing themselves, right? As she's putting it, Gunter, right? I love it. Is certainly a testament to their commitment and resilience. With tons of material, I think at least 3 full albums, 3 EPs. So guys, go out and stream the shit out of this band. They've opened up for some top premier headliners like Sully and the boys from Godsmack, Hailstorm. I wonder why. But enough. I'm going to stop delaying time here and bring on the voice behind Century Media Records, recording artist Stitched Up Heart, the one and only Mixi. Welcome to the show, Mixi.
I am very, very excited to be here. This is going to be fun.
Of course it is. Of course it is. You're on my show. My show is fun.
Yeah.
It's entertaining. It's learning. Plus, with guests like you, I can't do the show without you guys. Let's be realistic. I need you as much as, you want some exposure in this world. But it's going to be a blast. And I was wondering, we were all wondering here in the studio, like, what color hair you're going to showcase for us today. Blonde, light, green, blue, black. You like to keep us guessing. Of course, I get that. And also, congratulations on the new album, To the Wolves.
Thank you. Well, first we'll start with the hair color.
Yes, please.
I dyed it black because I cannot stop dyeing it colors. And
Right.
it was the only color I knew that it was going to be impossible for me to just one day decide
Right.
I have pink hair. And I was like, I'm just going to stick to it. And
Well, it goes with everything, though. Black is
that's
neutral.
that. It's amazing. And actually, it's probably the closest to my natural color it has been in Lord knows how long.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It feels comfortable. It feels bold. It feels like a little more mature than neon green hair or like whatever color, blue, turquoise.
Right, right. I
I
mean,
just got
listen,
into.
I'm good with all that stuff. And at the end of the day, to be honest with you, and you know that as well as I do, just be comfortable in your own skin. Who gives a shit what color it is, right?
Yeah. Well, try to be comfortable in your own skin as much as possible.
Right. Now,
Can't say I always.
I, doesn't it like ruin your hair after like changing colors for so many years, right? Like the dye and stuff. Isn't that true?
The bleach,
The
for
bleach,
sure.
yeah.
I can tell a huge difference from not bleaching it, just letting it go dark. And I just redid the black today, but
Right.
you do have to touch it up. But
Yeah,
I
of
can tell
course.
a huge difference. Actually, what's funny is the new record that just dropped, To
Yeah.
the Wolves. The album cover is me with black hair,
Right,
but we
right.
shot that album cover when I had like a light blue silver hair.
Wow.
And we had to edit it because that was the album cover. And I decided I was going to have black hair. And then it was just,
That's too
yeah,
funny. Well,
I
now with
have
the
to,
advent of AI and Photoshop, that's not even an issue anymore. So
yeah,
you're
you
good.
just like, there's apps for
Yeah,
it,
of
like these
course.
days.
Yeah, yeah.
But
There's an app. Just change it. Blue,
just
purple. Want to
change.
go purple? We're good.
Yes, exactly. I'm comfortable in it. Who knows? With the way that I just, like you said, I like to reinvent and
Yeah.
recreate everything because I don't. I like to keep people on my toes, and I love how you caught that
Yeah,
because
man. I've been
some
doing my
people just
research on you guys, even though, you kind of blew us off. No, I'm kidding, of course. You guys are busy and you've got tons of messages coming in, but, and I don't take anything personal, but I know you guys are rocking and rolling right now. I reached out because for that reason, against, I'm a little biased. We're going to get into that. And we're going to get into my style and why I particularly choose some guests because it's the overall message of what I'm about here on the show. It's entertaining, it's inspiring, it's empowering. It's about being your authentic self, which you guys undoubtedly uphold, to all degrees. And I got to say right off the bat, I totally appreciate, the personality of you guys. You exude on your reels for me. And that's huge because not only are you guys coming across as cool, hard looking, sounding band, but more importantly, approachable and down to earth. And so many artists, and I think you're going to agree with me, so many artists don't understand how valuable that is. That element of authenticity and showing off your true human side is huge for your supporters. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think that it's a double-edged sword
Yeah.
because if you look at the artists back in the day where it wasn't as easy to go and just direct message
Yeah.
your favorite band or like see them,
Of course.
it's just there's a lot more opportunity to be connected. And I think that you do lose that mystique a little
Mm.
bit in this day of social
Yeah,
media,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but I remember as a kid moments where bands really just stole my heart because
Mm.
they left those memorable impressions on me like
Sure.
that I will never forget. And so I always try to remember like even though there's that mystique and you're supposed to be like a character or whatever it is,
Yeah.
uh I do feel like it's if you're being real with people they'll understand, and that I feel like authenticity is key.
Absolutely. I mean, I grew up the nostalgia behind just looking at photos. We didn't have YouTube. I was living vicariously through these magazines. Oh my God, that's what Angus Young looks like live in concert. So I get it. But at the same time, there's a huge opportunity to make some serious connections, on a one-on-one basis. I've touched the heart of so many people around the world with my performances, and it's good to hear like, Manny, man, you saved my life. Thank you so much for being you. It's cool that you're down to earth. You're not a dick. You actually got back to me. And here's a story for you. When I was on The Voice, I had this. I remember this one story which really bothered me. Right, this one guy was hounding me, trolling me to the point where I'm like, all right, there's got to be some reason why this guy's after me. So I reached out. I said, listen, I'm sorry that you don't like my style or you didn't particularly like the way I executed, but let me ask you this. Is there something I could have done better? Give me some feedback. And he responds back, bro, I'm just in shock. I didn't think you'd even respond back to me. I just actually wanted to get your attention. And they're like, I'm sorry, man, but I thought you were cool. But, I was reading the comments. I figured I'd just give in. So the point I'm trying to make is you can't take anything personal. People just want to hear themselves talk and are starving for attention, right?
You can't, but it's really hard to not subconsciously
Yeah.
digest what you read, you know?
Yeah.
And I'll like, it's our natural instinct is to go right to the negative thing. Like our
Yeah.
brain it's so much easier to be negative. It takes me a lot of work to stay in a
Yeah.
positive mindset. I like every day have to work on that. But um, yeah, like blabbermouth commenters are the best. I've actually started trolling them back because it's so much fun.
Oh my God,
Like,
really?
I got to a point where it's become they know now that I comment back,
Right,
and
right,
so
right,
now I can't give them what they want and
right.
respond because they want the attention.
Now it's like a
So
heated battle. I see.
now it's just like
It's
I
on.
guess you're just gonna have to keep saying negative stuff, and I'm just not gonna read it. I'll
Yeah,
chime in, but I ain't reading it.
I know. I get it. I just, you know what? I don't give anybody my energy. I don't give anybody my power. If you're not paying my bills, I could give two shits what you have to say. There's this awesome quote. If you have a problem with me, call me. If you don't have my number, you don't know me well enough to have a problem with me. So I've always lived up to that.
That's a good one.
Right? Now,
Yes.
I
Yeah.
got to say, I also love horror movies, right? And yes, I always root for the dark side in movies just because I don't know, they look cooler. Let's be realistic, right?
They do.
And you got that vibe. All you guys have that vibe. You remind me of movies like Woman in Black, Insidious, Winchester. I mean, I can name these movies all day. So, in
Yeah.
other words, kudos to your stylists and your wardrobe people because I love it. Oh, you do yourself. Okay. Okay.
Well, this record, for example,
Right.
like I was very inspired by a lot of like underworld movies. And
Yes.
we were
Yes.
watching, like, we were like trying to go like for a darker visual aesthetic. And I
Mm,
was using those horror movies to, like, mostly vampires and werewolves,
yeah.
to kind of be inspired by something other than our scene and our music
I could see you
genre
doing
or
Kate
whatever.
Beckinsale. I could see you as a vamp,
Oh
without
God,
a
I
doubt.
wish. Good Lord.
I'd be a lichen. No, but I'm a vampire
I
for you,
know.
though.
Hey,
So,
girl, what's up? I'm right over here. But no, I just Underworld for sure.
it's a great series. It really is. I mean, either you love them or you hate them. I personally, I have the deep affinity for them. But let's get to it because we've got some great questions, and obviously, right, we all can't wait to hear the answers. I'm sure you're going to come up with some cool ones. So, you ready to do this? All
Yes,
right.
I'm here.
All right. You showed up, right?
I ain't
So
going anywhere.
there's no turning back now, right?
I did.
So do me a favor, Mixie.
Yeah, here we go.
Can you, I don't know, can you share some of the most significant challenges that you've faced personally during this 13-year tenure as a vocalist? And how did you overcome them, especially for our inspired singers, female, male, doesn't matter. I find that to be the most enriching with respect to what our guests can afford, our listeners, because they want to know, well, how did you figure it out?
Well, I haven't figured it out yet, but just keep putting one foot in front of the other.
I love it.
Um, but I think the biggest obstacle in this industry and entertainment in general is rejection, constant rejection, constantly being told no, 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 and constantly fighting that urge to feel that
Mm,
and be almost gaslit by the industry
yeah.
saying you're not good enough and you're not skinny enough or you're not pretty enough, you're not young enough, you're not a dude, whatever it
Mm,
is,
okay.
not talented enough, things like that. They just happen, and I beat myself up a lot about if we don't get a tour. I wonder, okay, what did we do wrong? I
Right.
like to like kind of look deep and see what it is, but maybe I look a little too deep and then I overthink everything. But
Well, you're
I think
you're
it's just
emotional creatures, man. We're musicians. You can't help but to overthink things, but there's nothing wrong with that as well. But I didn't mean to interject because that's such a revolving theme, right? We start analyzing, we start creating this self dialogue of, dude, I screwed up. Like, what the hell went wrong? Like, what was I thinking? Should I have done something different? Should I have pivoted? Now, let me ask you this: what's the consensus of your band? Do they feel the same way? Do they support you, or do you guys have varying opinions of what should be done to improve, perhaps, or heighten the possibility of getting the next gig?
Yeah, I mean, we're in the middle of a transition right now of like a big band decision that we had to do. And
Mm,
there's actually a lot of crossroads that are coming up that we are all on the same page about, but they're really hard choices to make
mm,
and they're scary. And it's like,
of course.
leaping into the net that might appear. um, but making those decisions and I'm a very non confrontational person.
Mm,
So when I have to be a businesswoman, it takes a lot to do that, and I probably wait too long until it's time to do that. But yeah, yeah, those are the hardest decisions. Is It's to not remain complacent and to know what's good for the business, what's good for the
yeah.
band, and if there's a member that all they can do is drink all the time
Well,
in five
here's
and a half years, it's like,
I agree with you, and it does. It becomes overwhelming and it becomes disheartening. But here's the thing I've also figured out over the years. It's like a rite of passage. You have to have these moments. Like the old adage says, calm seas never made a great sailor. There has got to be turmoil everywhere because the more turmoil that you experience, the more solutions and the more experience that you gain as well. So it's a lot easier, hindsight, everything is 2020, but as you're going through these, let's just say, episodes of your life, as long as you have your team behind you and you collectively make a decision, just don't let it skew your creative path. That's the one thing I've realized that I could share with you and for
all the band members out there listening, you will encounter some moments that you seem are insurmountable. Like, we will not come up with the solution. Guess what? Everything always works out. It may not happen at first, but you're going to get certain little pivots that come along, these serendipitous moments, coincidences. A, you got to ask for it. B, you got to keep the lines of communication open and just keep plugging away. I've always felt that these are just little detours that are forced on you just to see how committed you are. Does that make sense to you?
I hope that it is like there are little bumps in the road, and
Yeah,
God's just going, "Hey, here you go.
right.
Can you dodge that one?" And
Yeah,
like only the ones that are willing to prevail through it
yeah,
will survive. And I
exactly.
think that that happens constantly. You're always being challenged.
Yeah,
But like you said, there's usually a reason when something is going the way that you don't want it to go, and you can't control it,
yeah,
and it goes this way, and life forces you this way,
yeah,
and then you finally, like, a year or so down the road, realize, oh, this happened because this needed to happen.
exactly.
So yes,
That's
serendipitous.
exactly the point that I was trying to surface and clarify to everybody. You can't explain it at that particular moment, but then you're going to realize, holy shit, that actually had to happen. I'm so grateful that it happened. And I will tell you this, be grateful for the hardships, because those are the moments that help you rise, and it becomes more gratifying when you come across the other side with a successful victory. And I guess we could segue into the next question, because we're talking about how difficult the entertainment industry can be, right? How tough it wears you down, it dances on your nerves, whatever phrase you want to use. So, how do you stay positive? Like, how do you keep your motivation, that creativity, the resilience alive? Because listen, 13 years, it's not like you're like, I can't do this, I'm going to give up. You're still in it. How do you keep that stress level from saying, all right, we're done, we're giving in, we're throwing in the towel, you know?
I have a network of people. Like, I have a therapist.
Okay.
I have, a lot of tools that I use as far as like gratitude lists that I do every single day. A
Nice.
little, 5 things I'm grateful for, and that's really good to like help me not go down the negative path
Right.
and feel and have those. Because if I'm in my brain, I could drive myself
Oh,
crazy, and then
absolutely. We all can.
everything. Yes, I
Yeah.
mean, it doesn't look good in there, and I stay away from that, and so I just stay super busy. But um, I meditate. I try to meditate a
Good for
couple
you.
times a week.
Good for you. Every
It's hard
day.
to do,
Been doing it for 20 years. If without meditation, God knows where I'd be right now. So kudos to that. Go ahead.
and it's hard. It's hard to even just sit down
Yeah.
and just stop your brain.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of work to keep myself going and keep myself in a mental headspace, because I know that I don't want
Yeah.
to do anything else. I know that I love this more than however much money it costs to do this tour, more than
Yeah.
however many, things that have to take the back burner just to make this happen so that it can move forward with the
Sure.
music. And I am obsessed. And
Well, here you
I
go. You
have
just answered your own question. You realize that, right? That no matter hell or high water, this is what you're passionate about. So, again, the point I'm trying to make is you have to always remember the why. Why did you start this in the first place? And this is so awesome that you brought this up, because, again, it's a revolving theme in so many conversations that I have with artists, that you get to that apex where you're like, man, this is a serious crossroads. Like, now what? Like, do I pivot in a way where I have to abandon this craft that I absolutely love, that I'm vehemently proud of? Do I hang everything up? Do I get advice from somewhere else? And I think at that particular time, we need to take a step back. Again, I love the fact that you meditate, because you have to quiet your mind. Mixie, our brain has like 60,000 thoughts a day. Our brain is craving some silence. And some of the biggest gurus that I know that I've spoken to, they're like, if I don't quiet my mind, how the hell am I going to get the answers that I'm looking for? Sometimes all it takes is a little inner dialogue. But we're so consumed with this Western world mentality of going 100 miles an hour. We've got to, plug every hole in the dam that's leaking. We have to make sure we put band-aid solutions on everything. It doesn't work that way, because that's how you destroy your career. Instead, take a step back and be like, okay, cool. We got a situation, not a problem. I hate using words like that, because we need to watch our verbiage. They're really not problems. They're situations that require attention, some more than others. And if you approach it from that perspective, you're going to realize, wow, okay, so it doesn't seem like this gigantic, daunting task that's upon us, You'll figure it out. So just remember the why, which is the passion behind it, how it makes you feel when you're on stage, that visceral feeling of connection, doing the reels, writing new music, the organic process of writing a song. You can't leave that behind. So when you get that doubt that creeps in your mind, you need to saturate your brain with the gratitude, just like you said, of those moments that keep you going, and only focus on those. It's crucial. Because if you focus on lack, if you focus on void, if you focus on doubt, guess what? That's all you're going to get. There's no other way around it. It's energy. So I'm so happy that you brought that up. And it shows you how transparent you are, which is fantastic because it's like being an alcoholic. I've had plenty of friends of mine that went through the steps. What's the first step? Realizing you got a problem, right? You can't avoid that. So you need to
Or
address it.
a situation.
There you go. See, she's learning already, man. This is fantastic. No, but I appreciate you mentioning that because I'm sure it's difficult. It's a difficult conversation. And sometimes it's hard to admit. I have them. I have my own securities before I go on a show. I'm going on tour for 2 months. Half the shows are sold out. There's going to be times to be like, oh my God, my voice, like now what am I going to do here? Or did I say something wrong? Or should I be connecting more? Should I be posting more? So we all have these moments. It's just, like you said, how many bullets in my belt can I use to counteract what I'm feeling right now? But you got this. Just.
I know Lizzie Hale told me one time, like before I was supposed to go up on stage for
Mm.
something, I was like, I am so nervous right now. Like I still get butterflies, everything. I always have to pee, like all the things. No matter 13 years of
Right,
this
right,
band, and
right.
and before that, so
Frank Sinatra,
uh,
absolutely.
it's just like she's like, well, if you should really start to worry when you stop feeling nervous,
Yeah,
when you stop feeling passionate,
good
and
answer.
like all, and turn that, instead of it being a nervous and scared,
Mm-hmm.
be excited, because those two things, you
Yeah,
can trick your brain. Instead of I'm nervous and I'm scared for this, or I'm excited, both of them have the same
yeah,
emotion, almost the same
yeah.
senses
Well, you know
and
what?
heightened.
You got to look at really take some time and listen to Mel Robbins. You familiar with Mel
Yes.
Robbins?
Hmm.
She's brilliant at that because it's true. Anxiety and excitement can't exist at the same time. It's either or. Just like you said, the brain can't differentiate. So just instead of saying, "Oh my God, I'm terrified, I'm crazy," watch your verbiage. I'm excited. Again, another great point that you brought up. See, and that
Yeah.
shows me that you are in the game because these are the issues that a lot of artists fail to talk about. Then you wonder why we've lost so many incredible artists out there to overdose and drugs and depression because there's something inside of them that they feel like they can't talk about it, and they may seem okay. So I'm just really happy that you're addressing these inner emotions that sometimes they do. They get the best of us, and you're not alone, Mixie.
If we're talking about like depression and stuff like that,
Mm.
my theory behind that with artists
Yeah,
is we go and do these amazing, like insane things, like like your serotonin, your dopamine, everything is like as high as it can possibly
sure.
be. You go on this crazy adventure for what, 6 weeks, whatever. You come back from a tour, and then it's quiet,
Yeah,
and then you're cleaning dog shit off the ground,
right.
and
It's
you're
crazy,
mowing
right?
the yard. And then that's where I think the serotonin levels, the chemical imbalances in our artist brains, from doing those insane, like everybody's like praising your performance and it's
Where
just
do we go from
crazy.
here? I get it. I
And
get
then you
it.
go back home, and then you're just like a normal,
Right.
and nobody recognizes you at the grocery store.
Well, here's another thing. It's funny. I talked to Emily Lazar, right? She's another
Yeah.
incredible female vocalist
Hmm.
that we had this conversation once when we were writing a song in Nashville, and we were talking about that. When you go out, I remember we did a 5 arena sold out tour, and it's like every night the chanting, the screaming, the cheers, and then you go home, it's like crickets. So
Yeah.
it does. It hits you like a cinder block to the neck. But here's the thing, and I learned this from Gary Vee and a couple of other good gurus out there. That's why it's so important, Mixie, to enjoy the journey. You got to enjoy the process. You cannot focus on the end result of anything. It will not work. The problem is with artists, we're always trying to manipulate the end result. What's going to happen next? How is this going to happen for us? Do we need to do this to make this happen? It doesn't work that way. What we need to focus on is just continuously create out of our passion. We can't worry if people like it or not. Is it good enough for you? Is the material that you're writing good enough for you? I'm asking you.
That yes, that's exactly where our head was with this
Exactly.
record.
Then
Yeah.
that's all that matters. You can't worry about if people like it or not.
Mm-mm.
That's not your
Yeah.
problem. You just got to keep creating. And in a moment like that where you're wondering, "Oh my god, where's the next tour coming from?" It's so important to enjoy the entire journey. Hanging out with the boys backstage, laughing, having to go pee before. Focus on those moments, and you'll realize that soon enough, you won't worry about where's the next gig coming from because technically we're entrepreneurs. We don't know where our next gig is coming from. I talk about this all the time. There's an article in Fortune 500 magazine that says the world should hire more musicians. And it was a brilliant article because we know how to handle no. We know how to handle being abused by an industry. We know how to handle how we're lied to, you know, underpaid. So it's pretty fascinating. To be a musician is already a success, Mixie. I tell all artists that. It's already a success because what you do, what I do, our responsibility that we have to go on stage and entertain masses and hordes of people and put smiles on people's faces, that we're exhausted at the end of a tour. And now we're left with the worry. I want that to happen again.
Yeah.
But we can't do that to ourselves. It's not fair. We owe ourselves better treatment. We got to be gentle with ourselves. We got to love ourselves more and be grateful for that journey. And now you know what? I'm grateful for that. So it's going to open up more doors for more opportunities for you
We
guys.
also have to learn, I think, how to separate what we do from who we are.
Yeah.
Like who we are as
Great
a
point.
person,
Great point.
who's the internal child, like that, the little girl who loves animals and
Yeah.
wants to nurture and love, like just big heart, like
Yeah.
heart so big that I love too many things and like
Yeah. 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 Of
but
course.
but I gotta remember that when the band isn't performing and I'm at a show and it's not me playing, it's not about like I'm just being me, or
Yeah.
I'm like not even at a show at
Yeah.
the beach, like enjoying nature. And so it's almost two separate things. It's like
Yeah.
the
You can't
more
be
that
Mixie from Stitched all day, 24 hours a day. It's like exhausting. How
it
could you do
is,
that?
you should see me headbanging in the shower. I'm like always on it, just ripping solos in there. Like no, just kidding.
That's great. That's great. Well, and you know what? Let's talk about something else, right?
All right.
Since we touched upon the emotional side, we've talked about the hardships. Let's talk about. I think I'd like to call them essential lessons. Of what you've learned personally with respect to collaborations, networking. Building a team to support your music career. Because let's face it, without a team, it's tough to compete right now. You can't do everything by yourself. And I mentioned this because there's so many artists out there that feel stuck. And I also want them to value that it's okay if you can't do it by yourself. You're not supposed to. You got to learn how to delegate and allocate other sources to help you with your career. And it's tough for me. I will tell you this, it's tough for me to trust people because at least I know I'm going to get stuff done right. But at some point in our careers, we got to let go of the wheel, and be like, okay, I'm going to trust. Let's see how it happens. It's our job to educate those that we want or allow them to help us and train them in terms of what we're looking for because we have a responsibility as well. So talk to me about your perspective from that.
I think it's just, we've been around for such a long time that we've made friends with all these different bands. And if I look at the actual tours that we've been on, majority of them are because we made friends with them.
Yeah,
And like those people in those bands saw something in us aside from like they saw something in us and they wanted to bring us out and we got along really good. And
love it.
so that's I think relationships, true relationships, not like for a reason, for something really, like because as artists we
Yeah,
value people that
exactly.
actually want to be our friends, not for a reason, not because they want something, right? And I think that having true authentic relationships that are really humble and meaningful
And
is where.
unconditional, which is a rarity,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, there's like friends that we have in radio that, haven't been in radio for years that were on the stations that we still like
Yeah,
hit up every once in a while. They're
yeah,
like, "Hey, what's going on?" And so um I think that unconditional is very, very key to that too.
big
Yeah.
time. Yeah, like I said before, as I alluded to, just don't be a dick. It's crazy in this industry. People don't realize it's a gigantic, tiny little industry. Word gets around real quick. I learned that in Nashville too when I was living down there. I mean, I knew everybody. And, yeah, you get the bless your heart and they'll talk shit behind you. And then in LA, the people are like, well, you know what? I'm going to help you do this, but what can you do for me? Which is why, for me, notice how I'm mentioning different little demographics, right? Which is why I
Hmm.
love working in New York all my life as a photographer, voiceover person in music. It's refreshing for me because in New York, it's very binary. They'll look at your stuff or they'll listen to music. Yeah, I like this. It needs a little bit of work. This is cool. Yeah, no, don't like that. No, absolutely not. No, unconditional, unbiased, just authentic answers. And it's so hard to get that. So when I'm dealing with people that are very authentic, very honest, upfront, integrity, I'm not going to get my butt hurt because I've been doing this for a long time. I want to hear feedback. Problem is, many musicians and artists or creators as a whole are very sensitive creatures, very egotistically oriented, and sometimes not in a bad way, but they just can't handle criticism. So I think you're going to agree in this industry, you have to learn how to adopt, right, a certain amount of tolerance for criticism and just not let it affect you. And I see you're still
Yeah.
working through it, right?
Oh, I think we're always forever working through it, right?
Yeah.
Like thick skin.
I honestly don't give a shit. I'm so past that. Like, I don't analyze people's stuff.
It's
I
that
just
New
create.
York attitude.
Mm,
I think like we're different in that sense where I'm
mm,
more of a very introverted person and the
yeah.
artist in me is what wants to come out on stage.
Yeah.
And like otherwise I would just be painting all day, making music
And
at
that's cool
home.
too. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
We're all different.
But yeah, I take criticism and I've actually been really good at taking direction for quite a while with the band once we got signed and everything. And we finally, with this record, got to a point where we were able to just gain more control creatively of
Awesome.
what we wanted to
That's always a
do
good thing.
without,
Sure.
y- yeah, and just they let us kind of just roll with it, do what you think is right. And I pretty much came up with
Wow.
the whole visual aesthetic for this record and for the image that I wanted
Yeah,
on the
keep it.
stage
I,
and
I got to tell
everything.
you, because it's so impactful. I could still see it. Like you got the hands here, these like the black nails. Again, I'm very biased because I'm very into the dark,
Yeah,
nocturnal, vampiric, side of things. But
same.
it's all a vision, right? It's at the end of the day, it's just I don't want to call it a gimmick because it's really not. It's stuff that you're passionate about. It's a cool visual. It's kind of culty, right? So there's a little mysticism to it, which is cool. And that's what sells records at the end of the day. But the hard part is being consistent. You got to go out, put the makeup on, look exactly the same. Whether you're sick, whether you feel amazing, it's got to be a consistent show because now there's a level of expectation that the fans are expecting, right? Like you got to go out
Yeah.
and crush it every night,
Oh yeah, there were definitely some shows I got this jacket, this long jacket that I wear on
right?
stage. It's so hot in that thing. I'm like, and the air conditioner in the venue was not working that day,
Ugh,
and
it's the
I just
worst.
came back like and we also put black paint now all
Ugh,
over us.
to add insult
And
to injury.
yeah, but I love that stuff. It's like my war paint. Let's
Yeah,
get going. Let's
right,
rock, you know.
right.
But and it was
That's
really
great.
hard to sustain my energy the entire
Yeah,
time. But I was like, it's a commitment. I
yeah,
have to do this. I have to put this on. This is the outfit that I committed to. I knew it before going in. We are here now.
yeah.
Yeah, I
And see,
for this
and,
record.
and that's what I'm talking about. Those are the moments you need to focus on because it's crazy, it's fun. You're like, what the hell are we thinking? Like, we need to focus more on living the journeys. Again, I can't stress that because in listening to you speak and you get all bubbly, you get all happy, you start talking about those memories. I wish that more artists would focus more on that and stop worrying about the end result. Again, I can't stress that enough, and it's cool. And I think you guys are on the right path. I think you're going to figure it all out. Uh, your tenure has definitely afforded you guys thicker skin, more opportunities to come up with solutions, and you're going to figure it all out. Trust me, you will. So, I mean, I guess the last question of the show, obviously, my signature question, like, what's your mojo? What is it that keeps you doing this day in and day out, even though sometimes it's depressing, even though sometimes you're going to deal with criticisms, even though sometimes you hear crickets and it bothers the shit out of you? Why do you keep doing what you do on a daily basis?
I must love it because Man.
I don't know, you asking me or telling me? I guess.
And I would
I hope
do
so.
anything for love.
Right.
Um, I gotta love it,
Yeah.
and I think that it's just my favorite form of art, like my favorite medium is to come up with like an idea in my head,
Right.
to create it into a song,
Mm,
to make a video with it, to
right.
perform it live for people with a
Right.
totally different vision,
Right.
and that it's those moments on stage are the ones that I would have this reoccurring dream about. So I think that something about the stage, maybe it's because I'm 5'3" and I need to be taller, and it makes me feel big.
It's
I
your
don't know.
happy place, right? It's my happy
Yeah.
place. I feel safe.
It is. It is. It is. It and I almost posted something today about like a picture on stage and feeling like at home, cuz I do feel like the happiest when I'm up there, and I don't know why. I don't know. I really can't answer that one.
You know
I
what?
just love it.
I I'll take a stab at it because I get this answer all the time. It's like me. I love watching good English crime dramas, right? And when I'm in front of the TV, it's my escape. I don't have to be me. I don't have to pretend to be anyone else. I don't even have to like myself. My brain is like mush. I just absorb what's on the screen. So when I'm on stage, sometimes it's so visceral um, that I just absorb the crowd. And that alone is something that I feed off of. And it makes me, I'm 6'2", I'm already tall, and I just feel like I'm on top of the world. You see the signs, Manny, you have big hearts, you see the stitched up heart. We love you, Missy, amazing. How can you not feel like you're on top of the world? And I think that's what it is. It's effortless. You're on stage, it's an automatic, like, adrenaline booster, right?
It
So
must be the dopamine, I
that,
guess.
yeah,
Let's go with the dopamine, the
yes.
serotonin. Uh, I guess we're adrenaline junkies.
Yeah, I know I am. I know I am because I'm like
Must love
you.
it.
When everything is really quiet, especially at night, right before I'm gonna retire. Like, wow, what did I like about today? What do I miss? Damn, I miss being on tour. I can't wait to go back on tour. But I think it's gratifying for me having conversations like people like yourselves, people that are in the industry that share the same common ground. And then we're like, okay, cool. So it's like a little community. You feel the same way I do. Oh, wow. So I'm going to try that. That's a good idea. Thanks for sharing that with me, Mixie. So I think it's great. But listen, we've come to the winter seasons of this interview. Tell me what you'd like to plug. What exciting things can we expect from Stitched Apart and the incredible vocals that you bring to the table, and anything else that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me.
Of
This
course.
is really cool. I love these deep conversations, and I could talk to you forever, I feel like. But yeah, obviously, our record just came out.
Yeah.
It's called To the Wolves. Go check it out. All of our link trees are on our Instagram. You
And
go
it's
to our
killer, man. It's killer.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We did. We followed our heart on this one and really didn't listen to what anybody else or think about what everybody else might want us to make noise sound like.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't matter in the end. It's us. But yeah, stitchedapart.com has everything. You can find me everywhere too. Mixie
There you
official.
go. And you heard it straight here on Mojo for Musicians. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. I totally appreciate you. And we got to do this again. Wishing you much abundance. And I can't wait to see what you guys are going to come up with. Can't wait to see you guys on tour once again. And if you have anything exciting come up, please don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Yes, thank you for having me. And we are going to be out on the road pretty much most of next year. So I can't give dates yet. But yes.
Okay. Hey, listen, but I got a feeling that they're coming soon enough, right?
Yes.
Wishful thinking.
Oh,
Wishful thinking. It's happening.
wishful, like 99% thinking.
Yes, there we go. It will happen. Thanks again, Mixie. It's been a blast. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I love talking to you.
All
Thank
right. I'll talk to you real soon. Peace.
you. Bye.
This has been a Mojo for Musicians podcast. If you're a musician, industry professional, or a voice with a powerful message and wanting to share your mojo and stories of success with our listeners, or simply share some feedback on today's episode, we'd love to hear from you. So send us an email at info@mannycabo.com. As always, much love and peace. Live to inspire. Thanks for listening.